Hi everybody, this is Justina with JustynaTHandMade. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to adapt already existing pattern for the little card slot and ID card add-ons to the folded wallet. This little add-on that it's inside. How you can adjust the pattern templates that are already included in that pattern to then make yourself a little standalone card holder and ID packet little wallet that then could be attached to your keychain ring, to your purse, or you can have it attached to your wristlet and just have something easily accessible. And this way you don't have to purchase another pattern if you already have that little add-on, and you can utilize the pattern to create more than just one item. So if you previously see the video for the add-on, there's going to be some steps that are going to overlap, but this video going to walk you through the complete tutorial, how to adapt the pattern template and then how to put it together so you can have your little wallet completed. I hope you enjoy the tutorial for the add-on, and I just want to make sure that you get the most out of your pattern purchase. So then I decided to show you how the pattern can be hacked to be used as a completely separated pattern, so you don't need to have the wallet pattern to still take advantage of this small add-on. If you are already a subscriber to my channel, thank you so much for supporting my small business. If this is the first time you come across my channel, please make sure to subscribe, and if you don't want to miss upcoming videos, please make sure to hit the notification bell. If at any point you enjoy this video and you find my tutorials helpful, please make sure to give the video a like. Also, if you would like to have a direct contact to myself, if you find yourself with any questions, the best way to reach me is through the Facebook group. The link to the Facebook group is in the description below, so just make sure to join the Facebook group. And if you would like to follow me on social media, the Instagram link is also included. I will also drop a link for the pattern, so if you didn't purchase the pattern just yet, you can just grab the pattern for the add-on, which is very affordable, and then you will have two options to add the extra packets to your little wallet, or to create a standalone little wallet. So now, if you want to see how I adapt the template and how this little project comes together, please keep watching. To get us ready to cut our pattern pieces, we're gonna prep our pattern template for the add-on number 2 for the tiny wallet. So you're gonna print 2 copies of the pattern, and we're gonna be using 2 template A. The initial pattern, it's cut on fold, but we're gonna adapt it a little bit, so it's better to just have 2. So when you have those 2 cut out and ready, we're gonna connect them to create our template. So you're gonna align those little inside corners, because you want to create a pattern that will have a triangle insert in the middle, and just use Scotch tape to connect those 2 templates. And now also, as you can see, I just cut out 1 window for the ID packet. And for the other side, I'm gonna adapt the pattern to have 2 credit card slot packets instead of having double ID windows. To do that, you're gonna take your pattern and you're gonna fold the ID packet portion, so the corners or the bottom edge of the template meets those corners. So you're gonna fold your template, and then you're gonna use a punch tool to punch holes on the end of your card slot packet. You can see I have those holes punched, and then they're gonna be transferred on the other side. This way you can now connect those two marks. And when cutting your panel using this template, you're gonna cut only one ID window and 3 card slot slits. So I have my panel cut already, and you can see that I have my window cut, this card slot slit, and 2 card slot slit that are on the other side of my panel. Now we need to create the lining portion of our project. To do that, we're gonna fold the template, making sure that the edge meets those corners, and do that on the other side. And this way we have our little template to cut our lining. As you can see, I cut the lining a little short on the top to make sure that when I'm folding my project, I'm not gonna create any bulk in my top fold. So you can do the same. You can just cut those parts a little short to make sure we're not gonna have extra fabric on our fold, and make sure not to cut any card slits in the lining panel. So for this project, I'm using a piece of waterproof canvas, which is non-fraying material, but just to make sure I'm not gonna get any little fuzzies, I went with my lighter and I zapped all the cut edges. So the last item to cut is our see-through vinyl packet. So I just used the template provided and I cut my little window packet. For an item that we have to cut in addition is our closure tab. So I cut a piece of vinyl that is 13 inches in length and half an inch in width. So I'm gonna be able to create my tab with a little loop on the top for a D-ring or a keychain ring. Additionally, we would need some rivets. Rivets are optional. You can use rivets, or you can just complete those 2 steps with a seam. Also, I'm going to be using the plastic snaps to create the snap for my closure. I'm going to be sewing with a Gutenberg Mera poly thread. I don't recommend using a cotton thread. Use a thread that can be melted, so when you have your little thread ends of your seams, you can zap them with a lighter. So now that we have everything prepped and gathered for our project, we can start sewing. We're gonna start with attaching our clear vinyl in our ID window. I'm gonna place my panel wrong side up and take my see-through vinyl. If you are using a vinyl that has a wrong or right side, just make sure it's the right side down, so both of your panels are wrong side up. And I'm gonna be using some Scotch tape to help me hold the clear vinyl inside of my little window opening. So you want to center it, . Now that you have your panel prepped like this, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna top stitch around the opening with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, and make sure to back stitch on the beginning and on the end of your seam. Now that I have my see-through vinyl attached inside of my ID packet, I'm gonna prep the rest of my card slots. So now I'm gonna take my project back to the machine and I'm gonna top stitch along the bottom edge of my ID packet. Then I'm gonna top stitch below the next card slot slit. On the other side, I'm gonna top stitch below the second card slot slit and underneath the last card slot slit. So you're gonna be top stitching in 4 places along the bottom edge, on this side of the next card slot slit, and on the opposite sides of those 2 card slot slits. And you're gonna be sewing with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, and back stitch well on the beginning and end of each seam. Now that we have our packets top stitched, we're gonna prep our closure. So you're gonna take the strap of vinyl that you cut for the closure, you're gonna fold it in half, align all the edges nicely and secure with clips. And when you have that prepped, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the long edge, along the folded edge, and back along the long edge with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, making sure you are back stitching on the beginning and on the end of your seam. Now that we have our closure strap prepped, we're gonna create our little slit to have it installed. You want to make sure you are at least 3/4 of an inch away from the card slot slit and in the middle of your panel. Now I'm gonna test my little slit. If you need to enlarge it, just go ahead and do it. Mine is looking good. I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm gonna insert my strap about 3/4 of an inch inside of my slit. And now you can take it to the machine and you can sew a seam 1/8 of an inch above the little slit to attach your strap, or you can use rivets, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna attach my closure with a rivet. Also, just make sure when you are putting your strap inside the slit that the folded edge is outside and you have the raw edges inside. Okay, so now that we have our strap attached, we're gonna move on to attaching our lining. So you're gonna take the lining panel and you can use some double-sided tape. And now align the lining inside of your panel, you want to make sure that the panel is wrong side up and your lining is wrong side down, so both are wrong sides together. Now you're gonna flip your project and you're gonna create a seam line. So take your ruler and mark a seam line that it's 1/8 of an inch up from those corners. And when you have your panel marked, take it to the machine and sew following the seam line you just marked. You're gonna be sewing with the 3.5 stitch length and 1/8 of an inch above those little corners. Now that your lining is attached to the side with your ID packet only, we're gonna now fold and create all our packets. You're gonna fold each end to meet with the corner of the panel on the outside. And here you want to make sure that your card slot packet folds nicely. And when you have everything aligned nicely, you're happy how everything is looking, you're gonna take your project to the machine and you're gonna sew along the outside edge, making sure you are not sewing through the tab. I'm actually gonna be sewing from the outside side, so I'm gonna be sewing all around my project with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, making sure I keep my little closure tab out of the way of the seam, and make sure to backstitch or overlap the seam when they meet. So now take it to the machine and sew all around the project. Now that our seam all around is completed, now we have to finish up our card slot packet. So we're gonna do what we did on the other side. We're gonna mark a stitch line that is 1/8 of an inch up from this little corner and create our card slot packet. You can actually choose to sew from this side, but if you are afraid you're not gonna catch the edge of the packet, you can sew from this side following the bottom edge of the card slot packet. Now, before we move into our final seam, if you have any edges that need to be cleaned up, you can now do that. So take a cutting mat and trim your raw edges of the project, and making sure you are not cutting through your seam line. And now that you are happy how your edges are looking, you can make sure to zap any little fuzzies with the lighter. Now that you're happy how your edges are looking, we're gonna move on to our final seam. So you're gonna make sure the lining is nice and flat, and you're gonna fold your project in a closed position. Make sure that the top edges are aligning, and clip in place. Again, making sure that your lining is nice and flat. Fold your bottom edge and clip. And when you have your project prepped like this, take it back to the machine and sew along this folded edge with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Make sure to backstitch well on the beginning and on the end of the seam. You want to make sure you are catching the lining inside of your seam. Now the seam is completed and my lining is nicely caught inside of the seam. We are done with sewing. Now we just have to finish up our closure. If you find yourself that you need to trim your little corners, now you can do it. But if you're good to go, we're gonna install our closure. So take a set of snaps. And now we're gonna install the female part of the snap on our tab. So I want to be about 1/4 of an inch away from the short end of my tab. And now I'm gonna bring my tab over, making sure it's nice and straight. We're gonna bring it down by about 1 inch. We're gonna mark the placement of our male part of the snap. Now that the snap is installed, we're gonna create our loop. So you wanna all take it back to the machine and make a seam that is about 1/2 inch from the top of your little wallet, or you can install a rivet, and I'm gonna install a rivet. If you wanna put a swivel clasp on, you should do it right now. If you're gonna be using a keychain ring, you can do it later. And now I'm gonna thread my keychain ring. And my little wallet is ready to use. My little card holder or little wallet is now ready to use, and it has space for at least 3 credit cards and an ID, and it can be attached to a purse, could be attached to a belt or a wristlet, and you're gonna have your most used credit cards and ID easily accessible. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you're gonna give the project a go. Like I mentioned, if you already have the pattern for the add-on number 2 for the tiny folded wallet, you are good to go. If you didn't purchase the pattern, just follow the link in the description to grab a copy from my Etsy store. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave a comment below. If you need help with putting the pattern together, please contact me directly through Etsy or Facebook group. That's the fastest way to reach me. And if you are not yet a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Till the next time.